Where's your best interaction situation on TikTok or on Instagram?
So when it comes to lives, I don't do lives that often at all anymore. I pull
Okay.
people from the socials to my webinars on Zoom.
Oh, that's a
Yes.
great strategy.
Yes, yes. I'm always like, I want them to find a place where they know they're not scrolling through other things at the same time, but we are on Zoom and it's our time. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, that really does work, especially for what you do, because you
Mm.
do you're coaching. You're actually
Yes,
personally coaching, so
exactly.
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But thank you
Awesome.
so much for
It's only
being
a
here.
pleasure. It's only a pleasure. Thanks to everyone that's joining us. Thank
Yes, this
you.
is exciting. Thank you so much for
Yes.
showing up, guys. So yeah, just to get started, please just give us a brief little whomst is Palesa and whomst is
Yes.
your can I get unbeatable speakers,
Unforgettable speaker.
unforgettable speakers.
Yes.
Sorry.
So
Apologize
maybe
for that.
just a brief background. I'd love to share where I come from. So I'm born and
Yes.
raised in a small town in Mpumalanga called Sabi. If
Okay.
you know it, you maybe know it because you tour and you're on your way to Hazy View and Graskop and all those beautiful places. But it's a very, very, very small township. And that's where I'm born from. And the reason I mention it is because people were like, how? But people from small towns and these big things, how come? Like,
Mm-hmm.
no, of course, when you come from a small town, your dreams are usually way bigger than the town that you come from. So
True.
that's where I'm born and bred, raised there. And then I'm in Gauteng and I'm a married wife to a handsome husband. I won't mention his name after I said handsome. And yes, we have two beautiful little boys, a 5-year old and a 10-month-old little one. So, yes, I'm a mom as well. And then in my professional career, I am in HR with a background in talent. So, in talent meaning recruitment, for those that get it confused sometimes with talent management, they're thinking of in the media space. So, not in the media space, but more recruitment and helping people navigate opportunities. But I'm currently an HR professional, didn't study HR, but HR has found me. And in my business, which is Unforgettable Speakers, I am a public speaking coach to professionals. So, what I mean by professionals is any person from your receptionist all the way to your CFOs, CEOs, where I help coach them to be able to show up at work in terms of their speaking in a way where they speak confidently with clarity, as well as are able to make an impact and add the impact part with emphasis, because that's what makes a person unforgettable.
Mm-hmm.
You can speak well all you want, but if you're not able to impact people's hearts and touch them, you're probably not going to be remembered. And that's what I help people to do, is to navigate how to do that within the workplace and using my TV presenting experience, right? So because that's how it's like, okay, but you're in HR and in talent, how? And I'm like, no.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a background in TV presenting. I've been trained as a TV presenter before, as well as in general, just in public speaking and speaking on platforms, preaching, those type of things. And that's how it all comes together. Yes.
Oh, that is beautiful. That's such a lovely background. Thank you for that. Um,
Awesome.
I'm thinking now about the professionals coaching, uh, and you're saying from the receptionist all the way to the top, right? Is
Yes.
there a difference in the way you coach someone that just stepped into the professional space and or into corporate versus someone that has been there for a while?
So when you do the program, you get to see that people are the same. And I say this because
Oh.
sometimes people find themselves in roles where they feel they don't belong. And that just shows you that maybe the issue could have been from how they started. They didn't even
Okay.
feel they belonged as an engineer, as a trainee engineer. Now they are a CEO. Do you see that, right? So
Yes.
a lot of times there's an overlap. However, you're right when you're saying, is it different? I would say if it's a very like younger person compared to a person that's more senior, then there would be a difference in the sense where a person that's quite young and hasn't experienced all these things that people talk about, like toxic work environment and getting negative feedback reports or going through things like retrenchments. You know, when you're quite young in your career, you haven't experienced those things. So you are very hopeful, and that's positive and that's a good thing. Where with people with a lot of experience, it takes a lot to convince them that this is the thing for them. First of all, you need to be sure of your thing as a coach, that is this going to be what's going to help me to elevate? Or for some of them, they already know that I'm very good at what I do in terms of finance, but I know I struggle every time I need to speak in front of Exco because somehow I find those people to be intimidating. They are directors. They come with a lot of questions. So that's the difference when you sometimes deal with a very senior person and a younger one. Yes.
Oh, great. Okay. So there's also an element of the confidence part that
Yes.
needs working on.
100% always. And I think that is literally the core of speaking. It starts there with
Right.
people lacking confidence. And I say this because most of the time it's not that I don't know my content. It's not that I'm not sure of the company and the things that we do here. It's just that I don't have confidence in myself. I doubt my English. I wonder if people hear me. I feel like I run out of words while I'm speaking. And those things all stem from that confidence issue where you don't believe in yourself as a speaker. You believe in yourself when you're doing the work, when you're typing the module or the work out and you're putting the Excel spreadsheet together because you've been doing that. However, now you're tasked to once a month come and speak, and it's like, oh my goodness, this is not for me. And usually it creates a bit of, like, we call it speaking anxiety. I'm sure you would be familiar with it in your space.
Yeah.
And people that go through that, they find themselves not sleeping for a
Yes.
few nights before that meeting. Some will even say it goes as far as getting sick on the day, right? If they don't want to go vomit, they need the toilet, they just like, I can't do this, hyperventilating, panic attacks. And I say this because it's all the things that I've heard from my clients themselves. They'll say, oh no, every Wednesday I'm sick. If I could, I'd actually call in and say I'm sick because I have to chair our Wednesday meeting. Or imagine that. I was like, so you don't sleep Tuesday night. Once it's Tuesday night for you, it's a terrible week. And all of that is all stemming from no confidence in themselves in terms of that specific element. And I say that element because sometimes people are very confident in other areas of their life, but it just comes that every time they think about standing in front of people being judged and the fear of humiliation or people seeing now you're not as smart as you thought you were, Sbahle, right?
Yes.
So that exposure, that's what they would call it in their world. And that in itself is so crippling because it stops you from so many opportunities that you can get, and opportunities that could have brought you forward in terms of promotion and people seeing the true you, and also the regret that you leave that meeting with. I'm not sure if you've ever left a meeting or even an interview and you felt like, oh man, I should have said
Yes. And then completely think about it when I'm done. And I'm just like, that was so horrible. That didn't make sense. I should have
Yes,
said. And after thinking that I've practiced so much before already,
exactly,
but you don't know
exactly.
what the exact situation is going to be like, that you start
Yes,
freaking about what the exact situation was when you're out of there. And you completely leave whether you really showed a bit of confidence in one space or not. All you're thinking is, I remember while I was saying this or when they asked this, I took too long to breathe and then I was tapping
yes,
yeah. So I hear
yes.
you.
Yes, and exactly what you're mentioning is one of the things that I always say to people when they come to me, right? So they'll say, "Oh, Palesa, I struggle to articulate myself. I don't show up confidently. I don't know if I can connect with people." The list goes on
Yeah,
about all these things that they know they do wrong.
yeah.
And then when you flip the script and you say to them, "So what do you do well?" I don't know. No one ever knows what's good
Mm-hmm.
about their speaking, and I can promise you now, no one is a complete failure. If you manage to
Yeah.
get through an interview and get a job, or make it through university because you did some group assignments there where you had to present, trust and believe you are not the worst speaker in the world.
Yeah.
You are not the worst of the worst, and not everything you do is wrong. If
Mm-hmm.
it was, I'm sure you wouldn't even have made it through school. So do you know your strengths? Because that's so important to building your confidence in speaking. When you don't know your strengths, you'll always be focused on the failure. I
Mm-hmm.
think if you've ever watched Renee Brown's TED Talk, where she talks about, where she says when your manager mentions that one area of development, and that's the only thing you remember the whole meeting, right?
Oh,
And that's
yes.
how everyone is. It's like that one moment, that question that you felt I could have answered it better. And we dwell on that because it almost fulfills the insecurity we already have. Like, it makes us like affirm the fact that you see, I am a failure. I knew I wasn't smart enough. I knew I don't belong at this table. And it gives you that proof almost, and the stamp that you, of the thoughts that you were already having, right? And
Mm,
that's the sad part about the idea of thinking that when you're going to speak anyway that it's going to be perfect. Already you're setting
yeah.
yourself up for failure. That's like that's failure point
Yes.
one, is telling
Yes.
yourself that when you go there it's going to be perfect.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, no. And I'm thinking about it so much from the perspective of mental health, and it just breaks my heart. Something that touches me a lot is when people are so worried about their English and
Yes.
comparing themselves. Marambali, when you know how to and what you say and how you say it,
Yes.
and it's also like, okay, but for me it's also been a bit of practice, but also the way
Mm.
that you speak is enough. You don't need to try to change your accent. You don't need to try to,
Yes.
and
Yes.
you can see how it really is like a tough confidence issue on that, on like what you just said. I know my work and I know this, but
Yes.
when I have to now explain it, I'm already thinking I'm speaking to people that speak like Mbali, that speak like Palesa, that speak like,
Yes.
and there's no way I'm going to be able to get through to them if I don't try to articulate myself in
Yeah.
that exact specific way. Whereas another thing that for me, I felt um, when someone is speaking and I'm like, I'm really impacted by what they're saying, is also seeing their personality in that. Because as soon as you can tell that this person is trying to speak like somebody else, I don't know who, but they're really trying so hard to sound like something else. You really just, I almost focus on that part, right?
Yes.
Whereas if as soon as they step into, and I can see it doesn't matter how they articulate or how they pronounce whatever, but there's so much of your personality in what you're saying, and then there's your confidence, and
Yes.
then there's your knowledge in what you're speaking on. Then already I've captured. You've had my
Yeah.
attention in that.
Yeah, yeah, what you're saying is there's two things that you've mentioned there that when I'm smiling like this is exactly how it's so sad, especially for us as Black people, where we
Yeah.
we haven't placed value on ourselves, on who we truly are, our who we are, right? So meaning how you grew up, that you're not going to sound like someone that grew up in the US,
Yeah.
that is born from the Thompsons family. You are Palesa Dooms. You are not that person. And this is just because we haven't seen ourselves as great. It's almost like the apartheid era really played with us, that we always see ourselves as we need to aspire to be someone else. If we're not
Mm.
aspiring to be them, then we're not going anywhere. Hey, when you don't have dreams, you don't have hopes, you can't be like a Black person. What are
Yeah.
you saying?
Yes.
Right? Black is beautiful. Our background, our heritage, that's what makes us unique. That's what makes us stand out. And the
Mm-hmm.
reason I say this as well is I love to use Tate Nelson Mandela as an example. And I'm like, he never sounded like anyone. Even till this day, there's no one that can sound like him. Right?
Yes.
But somehow, when we want to speak, wow, I now have to sound like Bonang,
Oh,
or
yes,
else
yes.
I'm not speaking well enough. And
Mm-hmm.
it's crippling because you'll never
Yes.
really sound like that person, and then you sound like the fake version. We all know when we see the fake version, it's like, it's hey, like you said, it's the only thing you focus on because it's like, why are you trying so hard? Just be
Yes.
yourself. And confidence comes from being yourself, because when you
Yeah.
are being yourself, you like all of a sudden feel like, oh, I'm actually blossoming from my truth, not
Yes.
from something that I'm trying to be or performing, right? When you're performing, that's what I call it. When you're standing in front of an audience and you're trying to reach for something that doesn't exist, and we can feel it. But when you are coming from a place of truth and with your own accent, your Xhosa accent, your Pedi
Mm-hmm.
accent, your Swati accent, you speak that English that you know. And I say the one that you know because that makes you comfortable. As long as people can understand you and that you are clear to the audience that you're speaking to, why are you worried about sounding like who you are not? Who you are not, right? It's so crippling.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, no, thank you so much for that. So now tell me, I think this links really well into what we just spoke on.
Yeah.
What do you think, or why do you think mental health awareness is important?
Yeah. Especially in my space, and I say in my space, especially working with corporate professionals,
Right.
working group and community, I think some of the challenges that we face in the workplace, especially when it comes to that lack of confidence to show up in speaking,
Right.
it comes from a lack of thinking, a lack of understanding the importance of taking care of our thoughts, because it will always be exposed in how we speak, right? So I think there's a way I wanted to put that we undermine how important the internal conversation is, and it's usually exposed the moment you start to speak to people. Now all
Mm.
of a sudden it's like, whoa, this lady, how come she sounds like she's not speaking from her authentic voice? She's shaking through her presentation. She speaks
Mm-hmm.
down on herself. She's constantly apologizing. And all of that is because of the internal conversation, right? So this is what's happening in your mental health. You speak down on yourself. You think your ideas are not worth being heard. You think your voice is not nice. You don't affirm yourself positively. And the lack of realizing that that is actually something that comes maybe from a low self-esteem, or even sometimes I can say previous traumas.
Right.
And when
Yes.
I say previous traumas, there's so many people that in their schooling went through a teacher asking a question, them answering and answering the wrong thing and being laughed at.
Right.
And that moment in itself cripples you for life, because it's
Yeah.
like when you just think about speaking in front of people, even when it's just four people in a meeting, you're just thinking, what if my answer is that answer again that everyone laughs at?
Mm.
And that can be a part of the things that I would say, the awareness of knowing the importance of taking care of your mental health, and taking care of yourself like you're an egg, understanding that your mental health determines how you connect, how you engage, it determines how you network, right? So when you have a low self-esteem, you tend to walk into rooms hoping not to be seen, yet you're dressed in your favorite outfit.
Yes.
I always make this example. You leave the
Mm.
morning putting on your new dress, putting on your best makeup, and then you try and still get into the room hoping no one sees you because you just need to
Mm-hmm.
disappear. And then in those moments when people do greet you, you're thinking, "Oh, I don't think I'm smart enough to keep having this conversation. oh my goodness, oh, these people are smarter than me, but yet you're standing there, you're a fully qualified engineer, you are a marketing specialist, and all of that took years to accomplish, but you don't see yourself, right? So and that's always what I aim for, is to help people to realize that there's something you're not seeing about yourself, but we see it. And what I mean by that is, that's why you're at the table. That's why you're invited into that room, because people see something in you and that you are valuable and needed and necessary. But somehow you get there and you think, oh no, not me,
Yes.
them,
Yes.
right? So mental health is so important. That's where speaking starts. It starts from the core of how you organize your thoughts, what you think of yourself, how you come through in rooms.
Yeah.
And then so when I pause like this, I'm just thinking about some of the other clients that I've met in the past, where other traumatic or things that have happened in their life changed them completely. And then they come for speaking training saying, Palesa, I'm coming here so that you can help me to find my old self. I used to be bubbly, and I used to know how to speak confidently, and I used to be this kind of girl at school where the teacher always used to pull me forward to do the recitation. And I'm saying this because I know my generation that I'm dealing with when I say that. and for me, I think usually, sure, and the saddest thing is for me is that I can relate to those people. A lot of times I look at them and I'm like, oh, I get what you mean. And I say this because I grew up that bubbly, energetic, still probably the same right now, but it hasn't always been like that. There was a time in my life where I felt like, oh no, okay, stop it. You are too much. Shrink. People can't handle all of this, right? Because it almost felt like when I walk into a room, I need to calculate, how do I act now that I'm in corporate? I'm no longer a TV presenter, right? I can't be sorry, I've got a question. So I was trying to make myself smaller, and then you get to a point where you realize, I'm dying on the inside. There are bombs going off.
Yes.
So there are people that go through that, where they're like, Palesa, I just want to find the old me before this thing happened. So in some cases, it could be traumatic things like losing a loved one. Oh, I had a lady that had gone through a very long illness. And even that, now going back into corporate, being the boss that she is, and feeling like I'm struggling to be the me that I used to be, because I've almost lost confidence in myself, meaning the sickness made me lose confidence in myself because I was so sick and I was helpless. And I'm sitting there thinking, whoa, is this really a speaking problem? Right? Because I'm like, this is a bit deeper than what I think I can handle. But usually I think when I then take them back to saying that what you're looking for is not necessarily the old you. And I say this with all due respect and empathy, because even for me, when I realized that I don't have to show up as a TV presenter at work, it's okay to show up differently and to still use what I know, but to know that I've changed. I'm a changed person now. I'm in a different role. I'm building a different career. It's okay to navigate in a different way. Even the thing that led me to public speaking coaching was having moments where in a meeting I was cut off, having someone say, no, what she meant to say is, and I was like, ooh, and I felt like, is this what people go through? How do they come back from this? And I thought, this is it. I can help people understand that it's okay. Even in those moments, now, what do you say after that? It's okay. It's not the end of the world. You can still tomorrow lift your head again and come to the meeting strong, right? Yeah, so definitely the awareness of knowing that everything that you do, that you in terms of connecting with people, engaging with people, stems from how healthy you are mentally is where it
Yes.
begins.
Yeah.
If you're unaware, you almost operating at a loss because you have to perform. You
Mm-hmm.
now, you're at the point where your esteem is at zero, but every time you get there, hi, how are you guys? And
Ooh.
it's not coming from a
Yeah.
real place. It's coming from you
Even the voice is that
pretending.
pitched.
Yes, no,
It's
you
like,
pitch, you pitch because you're pretending.
yeah.
And how it's picked up. I always say this is that you never want to stand on a stage and be amazing, but when we meet you at the mall, you're underwhelming. And
Okay.
the only reason I say that is because that's what happens to a performer
Oh,
when Palesa is standing there on the stage holding the microphone. She's operating, and
yes.
then now come have a call with Palesa, and it's like
Yeah.
what happened because you can't always be in performance mode.
Yes. It needs to be in your personality.
Yes.
The confidence needs to also be a part of you completely. Then your personality shows up in your speaking, and then it just becomes who you are, which means that when we see you outside of that space that we initially saw you at, then we are seeing the same person. I mean,
Yes.
as people, we can differentiate that, right? We're not in a meeting right now, or we're not at an event where they have to do that, but it's not underwhelming. It's the same person that
Yes.
I was dealing
It's
with there.
exactly the same person.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
not saying that
yeah.
you don't go through, right, obviously moods
Yes.
and whatever, but at
Mm.
least you're not sounding like you were singing and now you're talking. Where it's
Mm.
like what's going on? It's so inauthentic at this moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you for that. And so I would like to know, what are your daily, weekly, monthly routines that you do that work for your mental health? And why I say daily or weekly or monthly is because I know that it tends to be difficult to do it on a daily because our emotions, here and there, sometimes it's your time, sometimes it's how you feel, sometimes it's stress, sometimes it's just busyness, whatever it is. But there needs to be, like, especially with trying to manage your mental health, there needs to be a bit of something that is your go to help you get back into a better place. So for you, whether it's daily or weekly or monthly or every now and then, what works for you?
Yeah. So the things I do religiously is I pray.
Mm. Oh,
Right, I don't want to lie to anyone. Before this
yeah.
live, I was praying a little bit. I don't pray because I do it daily. I pray anytime.
Yes,
Right?
it's a conversation, hey? It's very
Yes.
simple. Yeah.
Yes, no, definitely. And for me, I think that just usually is a place where I can feel centered. It's a place I feel with God I can trust. When you can trust Him, meaning you're telling someone about things that you sometimes can't tell other people, but I can tell Him that, Lord, I'm asking, please be with me now on this live.
Mm.
I know I might be smart, prepared, ready. Bali and I might be clicking, but if you're not going with me, we could mess this up and we could mess up people's lives.
Mm.
And we take it seriously because someone else might be joining, really trusting our opinions, and now we're saying things
Yes.
that ruin their lives. But if you are there, we know we're okay. Like you've got this for someone, right? So I really put prayer for me as the first place. And it's also the place where I practice gratitude. I know that in mental
Mm-hmm.
health we often talk about gratitude, but in prayers where you say your thank yous too. Thank you that I'm awake today. Thank you that I'm alive. Thank you that I'm healthy. Thank you for my family. Being
Mm.
grateful is the first place where you can start realizing that, oh man, maybe my life is not as bad.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And this is now, even when I want to take it further into the public speaking realm of things. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in front of these people and that they're
Yes.
willing to listen. That
Yes.
changes your perspective on how you show up. You're not
Yeah.
showing up like, oh, I'm so forced to stand here. No, you're not forced. You're so
Mm.
privileged. And when you start seeing it as a privilege that people even want to listen to you, even if it's three people, man, it changes your way. It's like, wow, these people are lending me
Yes.
their ear. So I'm grateful for this and I'm not going to take it for granted. So just gratitude in everything, no matter how big or small the platform or the environment is that you're showing up into, being grateful for it. And
Right.
then while we are praying, there's this thing I love to call set your environment. That means playing my favorite music, and
Oh, yes.
and I do that really as a way for me to either, if I express myself, if I'm not in a great mood, I might play the sad songs. But the sad
Mm-hmm.
songs for me would be still worship music in that moment, or if I'm in a great mood, we are worshiping, dancing. So that is part of my dailies. I don't want to lie and say I don't do it every day because I'll find a place somewhere. If it means at night, whenever, I'll find a place to do it.
Mm.
Right? So I definitely doing that. And then what else? Stretching. So I don't know if you're familiar with facial massages in the morning. So as I put my lotion on in the morning, I
You
stretch.
know what I've seen, my I haven't seen that, but I my 13-year-old sister, she's very much into, like, she has a whole 30-minute long face
Yes,
routine
yes,
and
yes.
another 30 minutes for her hair.
Yeah.
So she has these things that she's
She
like,
does. Yes, I do
and
all
I'm
of
like,
this.
oh
I do
yes,
it every
girl.
day. Like this is
Right.
literally my routine. Pull my brows up because my face sleeps in the morning. As well as
Okay.
being a speaking coach, I know that that helps with speaking. So for me, when I sleep in the
Ah.
morning, that's
Yes.
me. But after standing in the mirror, pulling my face in all directions, my neck as
Wow.
well, especially here on the throat area. This one, I was so surprised how it helps just with even the way I speak in the morning. I've got a very deep voice, so it helps me to speak clearly as well. Just the massages here, and then also shoulders, and and I'm doing this like this is exactly how I do it every morning. And the hands and touch my toes.
Ah,
I
this
don't
is
want
so
to lie
cool.
because then you can pick up where the tension is in your body. We don't have
Yes.
time to listen to our bodies. And for me, the only way something will become daily is if it can be put into something I already do. So I already put on
Right.
lotion. So might as well put on lotion in a special way.
Yes. All right.
I'm already going to pray, so I might as well play worship music. You see, so I don't want to make it something that's like, oh, now let's go somewhere because I know that effort in itself. When I say this feeling a bit guilty because that's what I think about going to the gym. I'm like, oh. I'm just an honest person. Hey, I would rather exercise in the house.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
me.
You rather
That's me.
add Pilates to whatever you're already doing because you're already
100%. And I
stretching
and
and
I do 20 minutes for me. That there's these videos for people that have had
yes.
children. You would know postpartum exercises. There's a lady that does these 20-minute videos perfect, especially because my back is
Mm.
not ready for weights and all those things. And
Oh
I'm sure the lady that gave me my
yes.
gym membership, I hope she doesn't watch this. She must understand. And I'm still paying for it, and I'm not
And it's like, where are you?
sure. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to lie
Yeah.
to you. When I
But
thought
that's
about
part of
it,
listening to your body as well. That's part of listening to your
yes,
body and not saying, I'm going to strain you because we're supposed to be at the gym and we're
yeah,
supposed to lift weights and we're supposed to, but you're just listening to what works for it right now and
yes,
also giving it that extra stretch of being like, so we're not going to not do anything. We're going to do what
yes,
you're capable of doing and
yeah.
just get a little somewhere with that. That is so wonderful. Thank you for that. I'm really excited. Oh, Ruthie, thank you so much, friend. Thank you. I'm really excited about what you were saying with the stretching, and I think you saw that. And there was a time where I went to a coaching meeting, and well, it was okay. It was a meeting, and they had a breathing coach there, and he was
Yes,
teaching us how to breathe in the
yes,
morning. And while he's teaching and explaining it, I mean, because I like taking in information and I'm open minded about it, I was just like, okay, great, let's, until I started doing it, and I'm like, oh,
Yes.
oxygen is
Wow.
actually moving into the rest of my body. Wait, what happened?
Yes.
What have I been missing out on, right? And I'm
Yes.
thinking about another thing, that because I'm a nail tech on the other end, and I teach
Mm.
people that space. And one of the things that I teach in customer service is when, as a business owner, when you're taking a call from a client, in the beginning stages of your business, you tend to not be as busy and whatever. So maybe
Yes.
somebody will call you at 9 o'clock in the morning and you're still in bed because there isn't, and
Yeah.
I would say you can't just take the call right there and there, or even just lying on the
What?
couch and,
Yes.
sit up straight and then
Yes.
sit up straight, breathe in, breathe out, and then take the call. Something happens over here that
Yes.
makes you sound more alive, because it's upsetting, or it's a bit, I don't know how it is, but it's off-ish for the next person that has been sitting in their office since 7 o'clock in the morning and then thinking, you know what, let me call this person, and this person sounds like they're sleeping. It's like,
Yes.
wait, what just happened
I
here?
would never have answered me my back in varsity, my mom's call when she calls me at 10 and I know I was still sleeping.
You
It's my
like,
voice. Sit up straight. Hello, mom.
hello, I am awake. I've been awake for hours.
Because it is a bit
Exactly
almost
that.
like, are you unproductive? It's almost disrespectful.
Yes, actually, yes. To a certain level, it is almost disrespectful as well. Oh, that is such a wonderful thing to say, because um, it actually really does do something to your mental health. As soon as you put in a bit of effort into pushing your body into, let's do a little something just to make you
Yes.
look better. For some reason, in some way, it starts to make you feel like I actually feel better. It's not that I'm just trying to stretch my face and look
Yeah.
better and look alive. I actually do feel like I'm alive, and I'm ready
Yes.
to take on the
There's
next
even
task.
like tension that sits here in our chin. You will not know it until you start doing this.
Ooh.
Realize that, oh my goodness, that what am I stressed about? And then you'll start to think, oh, maybe I am stressed about that presentation. Let me be
Oh
honest with myself, right?
yes,
So
yes.
just helping to identify what's sitting in my body that I'm carrying, where I shouldn't actually be carrying it in my body. Let me just express what it is, or let me just go and work on the presentation. Let me go practice. Already, then that tension will disappear as well.
Oh yes. Oh no, lovely. All right.
Yes.
So, what advice would you give to somebody else that is struggling with their mental health, and especially coming from your background with coaching and speaking? What advice would you give to someone that is struggling and they just too scared to ask for help? So it's not necessarily that they don't know where to go. They know that there's a Palesa out there that I can, or there's a
Yes.
Mbali out there that I can, but whatever.
Yeah. The first thing is that you're not alone. You're not the only person. Right. And I say this from a personal experience where I, as a Christian girl, believed I could just pray it away, and not in a
Yeah,
bad way.
yeah,
Not saying that I don't believe in God making you whole. And I'm saying this from a place of like me trying to be bare now,
yeah.
is that you think you can just pray it away, and somehow it becomes almost like the crutch, the only thing you're sort of always praying about, that prayer point that doesn't
Mm.
disappear. Can I have peace? Lord, can I have peace? And Kari, I saw it. Or can I help me to forgive? Help me to forgive. And I say this because I went through that for years until I was like, yo, maybe let me just do a bit of research and find out, is it really that expensive to get help? Because I think that's
Mm.
also sometimes we don't realize a connotation with mental health is that thing that people go and get help for that have a lot of money. It's a rich people
Yeah,
problem,
yeah.
right? And then I was like, let me just do a bit of research. What are the platforms? What are the areas? Where can I start? Who can I speak to first? And
Mm.
and I say this because I didn't want to speak to someone I know.
Yeah,
I was like,
yes. Yeah.
yeah, they will not. I'm making this decision, and I need to make it for me because I'm the one that's suffering in the terms of the quality of the life that I'm living. And
Yeah.
and when I'm talking about the quality of the life, I'm not talking about the affordability or the opportunities or the job. I'm talking about how I go to sleep. When people are sleeping, I'm tossing and turning. When I'm supposed to be extremely happy about something, I can't because there's this crutch or there's overthinking, right? So, and I'm mentioning these things because I know that for someone, maybe that's your reality where you've accepted
Yeah.
that you're just never going to be as happy as other people because of what you've been through. But in reality, there's help for you. It doesn't have to be from the friend that you know. It can be from the stranger that doesn't know anything about you, that gains nothing from knowing about your life and your stories, and is only there with the purpose of helping. Um, as much as people, we like to act like, ish, I don't care what people say, or I don't need people. We do. Ish,
We
you
do.
see that? When that thing hit me, I was like, you need people.
You need people, yes, you
You
do.
can't read your way
Yes.
out of this one.
Yeah.
You can't fast your way out of this one. There are times where you just need people. And that's literally, even the Bible itself will guide you to say, go for counsel. So if you're uncertain about whether it's godly, it's very godly to go for counsel. Even if it means you start with counseling with someone at church. If you're scared of someone at your church, go to someone else's church. I promise you, they're not going to chase you away. So
Yes.
so and also it's really, once you have become aware of the fact that there's something that's lingering for longer than it should, right? There are certain things that we should go through, that thing, like for instance the loss of a loved one. But if you are finding yourself, like I had found myself, I was like, no, not in a bad way, but it's 9 years since my dad passed, but it sounds like he passed last week still.
Oh,
And I was like,
yeah. Yeah.
this is not how it's supposed to sound. Not in a bad way. I've seen people who also lost their parents, and I knew that this is my cue. I'm going to find help because I'm bleeding. Not just I'm not, when you start bleeding, you hurt people around you, right? Like they're like, "Oh, we have to tippy toe around this topic because we don't know how she will react." And it's unfair because people want to live with you as the full, whole, amazing, bright, sparkling person that they know you can be.
You
And
want that
also
too, actually.
you, I was about to say that, and you as well. So, when you know how peaceful, joyful you can be, it really makes you feel like, what is this thing that I'm stretching for that I can't find? And it's usually just go and ask for the help. The help doesn't mean you now. We also have people that, sometimes you have to label yourself according to what you're going through. And I say this because there's also using your issue as the reason why you don't want to connect. I've got anxiety, that's why. So but also I experienced anxiety, or I go through anxiety when this and this happens. Is different from I own it now, and everything about me is my identity, right? So it doesn't mean that the moment you've started your journey with a counselor, with a therapist, with a psychologist, that now it's your identity. You should see it almost like a flu. It's something that you're going to go through with them for a time, for a period. And at times you're going to go back. How many times do we get flu in a year? Like small flu, big flu, bronchitis, lungitis, whatever, right? So there's different little flus that you experience, and you don't have to go through it alone. There's medication on the counter, meaning the medication, the person that you reach out to. So, and none of us define ourselves as I'm a flu person, right? Why? Because it's just a thing. So I think the fear sometimes comes from, now I'm going to be seen as, I am this.
Yes.
Instead of, no, it's something that I'm going through because it's part of life. So yeah, that would be my advice. Even as a speaking coach, even as an HR professional, married, loving woman, I have my journey that I'm on in therapy, and that's why I'm on this platform, because I really believe in the work that you do. It's important. it really has changed my life. I started to see my life properly
Mm.
since then. I wasn't seeing it, I wasn't living in it. I kept on thinking I had a better life back when my dad was still around. And I didn't realize, but I've created a beautiful life since, and he should be
Mm-hmm.
proud. So that's a
Mm-hmm.
completely different perspective that I got just from sitting with someone.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you need someone that can look at your life from the outside in for you to realize that, oh wow, I am doing well, or oh, it's not
Yes.
that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
that's such
that,
a lovely one.
yeah.
That is because, especially with when things change in your life that you did not plan for,
Mm.
even if you can foresee it, even if you're dealing with someone that is really ill and you can see, but whatever happens to you afterwards tends to be something that you just had no idea was how it was going to affect you.
Yeah.
And then there's that line between just trying to just get through it and pretend it never happened and just move on with your
Yes.
life. And then there's also that other side of how long am I gonna sit in and babysit myself and just be like, it's okay for me to stay miserable because this happened to me, and there's never anything better out there. I think the really helpful thing, or the really important thing that you just reminded me of, is saying that you are not alone. Because
Mm.
for me, going into other platforms and just looking for that help is what made me see that I'm not alone. When I
Yes.
started this thing of wanting to do social media lives and all of that in 2020, it was because of COVID happening and being on my phone a whole lot more, and then seeing that I'm not in the space where I can look at influencers' lives and say, oh, this is nice, I would like to, I'm not in that space. And at the same time, my parents separated, and I'm just like,
Sure.
there's too much happening.
Yeah.
And in that moment, when I look at people around me, I'm just like, okay, I'm only seeing people whose parents were divorced when they were kids, or it has never happened, or they've never had
Yes.
the one parent in their lives. I wasn't seeing anyone whose parents did that after 25 years of marriage. And
Mm.
it made me feel like it cannot be normal. So that means it's okay for me to not react normal, and nobody's going to understand. And
Yeah.
then you start looking for help and you start seeing, oh no, you're not you're
Yeah.
not the only one. It happens, and there are other people's decisions that will affect you negatively, but there needs to be a way. Or there's other things that just happen in life randomly, like the loss of a loved one,
Yeah.
and it will affect you, but
Yes.
there needs to be a way for you to work around it so that your life can continue and for you to turn into a bigger and better version of yourself. For that looking for help and that accepting the help, I think after the decision to look for help, that already shows a level of open-mindedness to accept
Yes.
help, right?
Yes.
And I think to add on to what you've said as well is being open-minded to continue looking,
Mm.
because it is hurtful to knock on the one door and be rejected a bit.
Yeah.
And I've had phone calls with, I think you would be familiar with SADC, the South African Depression and Anxiety Group.
I've heard of them. Yes.
Yeah, so you can call them and just they can just help you get through that moment so you don't go too far off the end, right?
Yeah.
And also to refer you to better places for you to get
Mm.
continuous help.
Yeah.
And I've had really great phone calls, and I've had phone calls with people that, luckily, because I've had better conversations before, I came back and I was like, girl, are you okay? Do you need
Yeah.
me
You
to
want to
come?
actually help the person that's helping you. Like,
I was like,
what?
oh,
This
sis, are
sounds
you
like
all right?
off. Yeah. No. Sure.
You do not sound okay. But
Yeah.
imagine being in a really bad place and then saying, I'm going to try only one. And in the one time
Mm.
that you try, you bump into that situation, or you speak to the wrong person for you, not necessarily the wrong person, but the wrong person
Yes.
for you.
Yeah.
and you're now so discouraged. So just being open-minded to say, I'm just going to continue looking for help,
Yeah.
because along the journey, there's a lot that happens and that
Yes.
works
You're,
out
and
when you
you're
deliver.
100% right. I think even for me, the journey might have actually started more with an app. I initially was like,
Mm.
talk to who? I'd rather
Mm.
speak to an app, and the app ended up saying, "You need to see someone." You know, and the app is also like, "I see you, girl. I hear you, but I
But you
think you
need a
need to
little
see
more.
someone." Yes,
Yeah.
and then I just reached out to a friend asking her to refer me to people, and then I found my own. But just in the, I was
Mm.
going to find. I was
Yeah.
committed to finding someone.
Yeah.
That's important. Yes.
Oh, oh,
Yes.
thank you so much for today's conversation. No, one
Okay.
hour is
Yes.
clearly very short.
Very short. It was so
Yeah,
good. Enjoyed every minute.
me too. My goodness, I've learned so much. I think you saw I've been taking notes the whole time.
Oh, lovely. That's
I'm
awesome.
gonna go back and look for Renee Brown's TED Talk.
Yes, the TED Talk on vulnerability.
Yeah.
It's
Oh
very,
my
very, very
goodness.
important TED Talk. And I say this for us as human beings and connection and what it means and worthiness, enoughness. Yeah. So
Mm.
that's the talk, what it's and what it's about.
Okay, no, thank you so much. TikTok is now notifying me that we have gone over our time.
Right.
I
No
would
problem.
like to please, 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 I'm going to be posting snippets of our conversation. Please get in the comments and just let people know where they can find you.
Yes, I'll do that.
And yeah, I'm going to be posting this on YouTube as well. And please, I'll send you a link. Please go back there and just let people know where they can find you and connect with you.
Awesome. Thank you, Valis Pahle
Yes.
Wellness
Yes.
Initiative. Appreciate it. And to everyone, stay blessed. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you guys for joining. Have a great evening.